And we are live. So, welcome to episode 147 of An American Werewolf in New Jersey. I am the American Werewolf. Joining me for this afternoon session on Werewolf Wednesday, as I was just saying before we went on, I've got Cindy from Cinema Cities. And so thank you again. You're becoming a more frequent, guest to hang out here and shoot the breeze on some film. Thanks again for stopping in.
Oh, I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, it seems like when you and I get together, although I haven't been able to get you on part of a larger panel, we're usually discussing something of pretty high quality. And so that is always a worthwhile conversation. I think the last time you were here, it was for October and Cat People.
Yes, and Curse of the Cat People.
Yes, and Curse of the Cat People, which turned out to be like an all-time favorite of mine, even though I had never seen it before. I was just mesmerized. Although the first one, Cat People, was really good. I would consider that second movie perfect. It was a perfect film, and it wasn't what I was thinking about at all. What I thought it was going to be. Today, though, I've got a little something different. This year, I've been lucky enough to have seen two perfect films, which doesn't happen too much these days. But there are people out there still making cinema. The first movie is the one we're going to talk about today. And that's Kogonada's After Yang, which is something I had seen on a fluke one night on my iPad. And I just was looking for something to watch and, just kind of laying in bed and I couldn't sleep or something like that. And I was just like, oh, okay, Colin Farrell's in a sci-fi movie, having no idea. And I've been really lucky in that I've seen a lot of movies that way, and that, I have no idea what this is about. I'm looking for something to watch. I'm laying in bed with my iPad, and, I'll just get this, 7-star experience. And this was one of those. The idea that I wasn't sure that there was going to be a format to discuss this film on this channel. But then I think I saw you post something about it on Twitter.
Oh, yeah, because Colin Farrell won the New York Critics Award for After Yang, and the other movie he's in. I can't remember what it was called.
Yeah, the Irish movie.
Right.
The one with Brendan Gleeson. Yeah, and I've heard really great things about that. This falls a little closer to what I typically cover on this show, though, because we're talking about sci-fi. So if you're ready to go, should we get it going?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, then. Boogie Boogie. So, for me personally, I find running a horror sci-fi channel that the very best films are ones that are rooted in very human problems. Every once in a while, you get a James Cameron or somebody, like that who comes along. But the very best ones are just about everyday things. And so you get a movie like De Palma's Carrie. Which is basically about a bullied girl. It's just a doomed bullied girl. Or something like The Exorcist. It has like 4 or 5 different stories. A child reeling from divorce, or a priest who's lost his faith, or another who finds out he's going to die in the first 5 minutes of the movie, or something like that. The cop Kinderman who's trying to solve a crime. Here, with this movie, it's just kind of about a family that's drifted apart, unintentionally, I think. There are no overt deceptions or betrayals. It's just sort of a neglect that's occurred in this family dynamic by two parents, a husband and wife. And you can argue this point with me a little bit, or argue it as you see fit. I found them both to be just self-absorbed, and without meaning to. This sort of gap has entered, and that has been filled by this android. It almost reminded me of that Robin Williams movie, Bicentennial Man.
Oh, I've never seen that one.
Oh, really? It's a very cute movie. It's a very cute movie about this, sort of android that comes to live in the home, and it's Robin Williams, and he starts out, almost, looking very metallic looking, and then over, as technology evolves, he comes to look more human and take on more human attributes. And it reminded me a little bit of that because he served that sort of caretaker role in the family that he lived with. But here, you've got this extremely adept android, and there are no horror scenes in this, or there are no battles or anything like this. But you've just got this family that has adopted basic premise is the family has adopted a Chinese child. They're not Chinese. They don't know anything about, Chinese culture or her, genetic heritage, in that sense. So they buy this cultural android that's, these things that are on the marketplace for adoption and like language learning and things like this. And without meaning to, Yang, the name of the android, is so adept at his job that he sort of takes over the role of parent.
Well, don't they call him her brother?
Yeah.
Their son. So
yeah.
I mean, he becomes a member of the family.
He becomes a member of the family, but I think without meaning to, they allow Yang to raise their daughter. That was strongly my take on it. Especially when it came to little things. And so what ends up happening, the basic premise is at the very beginning of the movie, Yang, for all intents and purposes, dies. He malfunctions, finally. And as Colin Farrell is trying to run around to different types of places to get him repaired, things happen along the course of the movie that we'll get into that cause him to see just how far removed he's become from his family. What were your initial thoughts on the film? I just watched it again last night for the second time. I bought it right after that iPad screening. And so this was, I don't think I've even taken it out of the Blu-ray player. I ended up watching it on Showtime last night.
Yeah, me too. I watched it for the second time last night with more focus than I watched it the first time.
Yeah.
The first time I kind of just had it on, but last night I was struck by it. It's a quiet, gentle movie, which I really appreciated. Yeah. And I appreciated that it sort of has this new near future world, and they don't care to explain it to us.
Yeah.
Just sort of drop into this world, and it's existing and they're living in it, and then we just watch them live and exist in it. And I appreciate that there wasn't all this exposition that ever went on about the world. And I do agree that it's a family that sort of just in the day-to-day business of living has drifted. They've lost sort of all their connection.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very relatable thing to a lot of people. And I think Yang is just, I get what you're saying. Like he becomes sort of this father figure, but he also is like a confidant for everyone in the family. They don't talk to each other. They talk. They open their like real deep thoughts to Yang.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't even know if they realize that they're doing it. But that's what's happened. Hold on a second. We do have some company here. We've got Patrick from Have Cheetah Will View channel. and says good afternoon to both. What's up, man?
Hi, Patrick.
What's up? Thanks for stopping in. And we've got Mr. Dan. He's home eating. He says home early. What a treat. Yeah, man. Thanks for stopping in. Patrick, I hate to tell you this. He's asking what studio put this out.
A24, right?
This is A24. This is an A24 movie. Colin Farrell has been nominated for the Academy Award for this, hasn't he?
There's speculation. I don't think the nominations
are out yet. But this Kogonada, sometimes there are films that without knowing anything about them, I'll have a very visceral reaction to. Like, I got to see that.
Yeah.
Okay, this I got to see. I don't know why, but I got to see it. And I'm almost always right. I didn't have that for this necessarily. Like I said, I was just curious. But when I saw it, I had this sort of visceral reaction to the director, Kogonada. I'm like, oh, that's intriguing. You know, like a director with one name. You know, that's sort of. He's not talking about himself in the third person, or it's not The Rock or anything like that. You know, where he keeps calling himself The Rock. It reminded me of a Terrence Malick film.
Yeah, without all the voiceover.
It was dialogue instead of voiceover.
Yeah.
Dialogue instead of voiceover. So you've got Yang, this techno sapien, that's the term that they use, that has suddenly malfunctioned, which sort of throws everything into crisis because it happens very suddenly. It just shuts off, just like, I hate to say it, but like any piece of machinery, your car just might die one day.
Or I like to think of like he just died, as if like suddenly you get a phone call that someone's been in a car accident and they've died. You're not expecting it, and it just happened.
Well, you blew what I was leading up to. Because I was going to get into it, like it starts out that way, but then, Colin Farrell is the father, and he is taking charge of trying to get him repaired. So it's like this weird dynamic, but because you're right, in a sense he has died, but then in another sense they're taking him around to these, sort of shady repair shops, trying to get him fixed because they bought him refurbished, certified.
Certified.
Certified. Because his wife like sticks her finger in his, I told you not to buy it, this way. And he's like, it was certified refurbished, these sorts of things. And then you sort of see, even from the beginning, how solitary Colin Farrell is. Like there's these, because he runs a tea shop. And he's like this earthy kind of guy. He wears like almost like skirts. I forget what you would call them in other parts of the world, like where I've lived, like men wear those things and they're very comfortable and you can just kind of walk around. And, I have a couple. I've never bothered to put them on, but I bought them over time. And, he's always wearing like a kurta, like these long, sort of, shirts that, drape down past the waist. And, he spends his time just sitting in, like you just see him, like he's not cheating on his wife. He's just sitting in the tea shop thinking. He's like one of those ponderers, there are people that live inside their head, this kind of thing. And you can tell just long periods of time just pass for him that way. You find out, that they're always too busy for their daughter, and it always sort of falls to Yang. And so now that Yang has, for all intents and purposes, died, it sort of throws them into commotion and forces them the husband and wife to communicate, which you can tell is something they're not very good at doing. They don't know, or they've forgotten how to talk to each other. If you want to.
Yeah, and it's all very quietly done. There's never any sort of explosive moments where they confront each other.
No.
We just sort of get it, that's how their relationship has evolved into what it is right now. There's no like, oh, you did this, you did that. No, it's also, I don't know. I just keep coming back to the word gentle.
Yeah.
It's also gently done, but it's also very revealing. Even when there's like silence and you kind of just see the characters, they maybe say a couple of words. It's just all very revealing about the relationships that they all have with each other and their characters.
But because there's love there, and there's no,
Yeah.
this isn't like Fatal Attraction, where Michael Douglas is out, sleeping with some weekend fling, or he's got some sort of mistress. I think there's clearly love there, but there's this distance that's grown between them, and from my perspective, it's because they don't have the daughter to bond around. Like, as a husband and wife team, have to make decisions, on how to raise the kid. And since Yang was doing all of that, they just kind of appear to, at the dinner table,
Mm.
where they sort of have forgotten how to talk to each other, or like they're doing that dance in the beginning of like there's
I
some
love
sort of,
that.
yeah, there's like this scene where they do the intro credits, and like all of the families in the country, I guess, that want to participate can do this like synchronized dance that they see like on their television sets. And then you've got apparently, I guess, someone through the television is monitoring them or something like that, although it's not a sinister thing. And if you don't keep up with the sync, then you're eliminated. you know so it just seems like, they're only there for the big things and not the little things.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. Patrick says it sounds like a Twilight Zone Outer Limits. There's
Mm-mm.
no, it's not like that, Patrick. And Patrick will be on the show tonight, as we do the nighttime show. It's not like that at all. It's this very beautiful sort of story that just sort of unfolds. And it's very calm, and there are no jumps or anything like that. The science fiction aspect of it is, the android.
And
And
the sort of near future world that they all live in, but we don't really go into any of that aspect of the story. It's just
yeah,
there. It's just the world around them. But I would also
yeah,
say the movie is very melancholy, which I
yeah,
love. Like, I
yeah,
throughout the whole thing, even the colors, like it's desaturated. And
yeah,
it's very moody. Oh,
yeah.
it's beautiful. All around. It's just a very beautiful movie.
And this isn't a blockbuster. I think it lost money, because this just isn't the type of movie that makes a lot of money nowadays. But it's cinema. This is cinema. You've got Sarita Chowdhury, who I've been in love with since Mississippi Masala. And like anything, like holy, like instantly, I'm like, okay, I'm watching it. Sarita's in here. Okay, I'm watching it. Sarita. And so what ends up happening in taking Yang to these repair shops, they sort of access his memory core and found out that, yeah, Patrick's saying it lost millions. It's cinema. Cinema doesn't sell nowadays. It's splashy stuff. But that's another conversation. They end up accessing his memory core, and what they didn't realize was that Yang was sort of recording things that he independently, because he's an artificial intelligence, he was independently recording moments that he considered to be memorable as he spent time with this family. And as Colin Farrell accesses the memories, it's sort of like things you'd forget. They're small little blips and blurbs, like little 15-second things, because he wasn't allowed, I guess his program, he didn't allow for long, recording sessions. And they're just these small little occurrences, these small little beautiful things that were happening in the family that no one else seemed to be paying attention to. Life is sort of passing them by as they're thinking about other things. Go.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Jump in wherever you want to. I mean,
I agree. It was the moments that he was recording were, yeah, like you're saying, things that you wouldn't even remember. Like, he was watching the mom reading a book on a bench.
Yeah.
Just like a little moment of her reading a book by herself, or
Yeah.
the kid walking through the trees.
Yeah.
These little, but for Colin Farrell's character to see those memories, I think he realizes what he's missing.
Yeah.
or what he has missed, but he's got the gift of it because Yang recorded it. Yang got it. So through Yang, he got to have those moments.
Yeah. Yeah. He got to see what was important.
Yeah.
And there are even scenes where, like, he's sitting there on the couch with his wife and he's got his arm around her and they're laughing about stuff, but it's also a movie of perspective, because if you see him in the tea shop, he's just sitting there. And like you said, he's very melancholy. You can tell none of them are really happy. They're not suffering any sort of crisis, but it's like this, they look very unfulfilled. But then from Yang's perspective, there's just great beauty occurring like at all times in the house that they're just not aware of in their despondency, or as they get lost in their heads.
Yeah.
And like you said, talk a little bit about, if you could, the conversation that Colin Farrell has with Yang about tea.
Oh yeah, the tea. So he's very much into the ritual of the tea, and he spends a lot of time thinking about the tea.
Yeah.
And he watched a documentary, and it sort of triggered in him something, because in the documentary about tea, the man said, like, when you drink the tea, you sort of experience the world of where the tea comes from.
The ground and the soil and yeah.
Right. And so I think maybe that's a key into Colin Farrell's character, because maybe he's searching for something and he's trying to find it through the tea.
Well, he said what fascinated him the most was that the man was obsessed with the idea of tea.
Right.
It's not the reality of the tea, it's the searching.
Right.
It's the searching. And so, you would think probably that a person like that, we're fascinated by it and we're sitting here talking about it, but a person like that probably wouldn't be terribly present.
Well, and he's not.
He's not. He's not, so these are the things that appeal to him, this idea of tea, so maybe it's this idea of a marriage.
Right. Or the idea of family.
The idea of having a daughter, the idea of family, these sorts of things. But when it comes to the reality of it, maybe he'd rather be, maybe there's a part of him at least that would rather be sitting in his tea shop just thinking. Like book, and I'm sure I have those qualities.
Oh, I do too. I'm terribly guilty of it. And I was thinking about that today. Well, after I watched the movie today, because
COVID masks.
Well, I mean, like I am definitely a person who very much is can be into their own mind.
Yeah.
And but I also have 2 smallish children.
Yeah.
And a spouse. And sometimes I don't want to be bothered with that. Sometimes I want to be in my mind or into whatever thing I'm searching for at the time.
Yeah.
So I sympathize with that, and I empathize, and that hit home. I get that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not what you would consider wrongdoing.
Right.
But
it just is. It is. It's like this, being a human being. And that's the other question. It's like why the movie kind of made me think about Blade Runner 2049 in a sort of tangential way is that like, what does it mean to be human? Because Yang is, we'll probably get to it, so I won't jump the gun, but he's making connections.
Yeah.
That his programming,
we will get to it. Yeah.
Said that he shouldn't be doing.
Yeah, they didn't anticipate that it would like in Bicentennial Man, although much not the same, but somewhat the same. He's evolved, unbeknownst to these people, because even Yang has experienced a certain neglect, I think. Yeah. They completely take him for granted. Having no idea that he is so much more than they ever considered. It would be like, what was it? The Bridges of Madison County, where the mother dies,
and then
they go through the letters and find out that she had this expansive life that they lived in the house with her and just knew nothing about. I mean, maybe for a weekend at least. She had this one weekend, that was just, and so, there was this whole other side to him. Um, a cup of tea contain the whole world? You know, um, and Colin Farrell asks him, are you happy? And he just looks at him. He goes, I don't know that that's the question for me. Maybe that's something for you, or maybe even Yang. And so, and again, like you said, I love that they don't explain it. Is that Yang evolved to the point where he's able to obfuscate?
Right.
And just sort of dodge the question. I can stay in this place, and they won't think to go there. This is fantastic. It's just a fantastic film. There's a lot more to talk about. I actually went out and bought another film by Kogonada called Columbus. And so, did you see it?
No, I haven't, but I want to now.
If you get a chance, and it's not a sci-fi movie, but John Cho is in it. John Cho from Harold and Kumar, of all people, and now he's got a new series on Apple Plus. Piketty, or it's about 4 generations of Korean families of a Korean family living in America, that sort of thing. It's so good. And so we find out, through exploring these memories, that he had, like you said, romantic involvements, or something that bordered on romantic involvement. I mean, not in the complete sense that we would consider, because of what may be possible for him.
It was a romantic attachment.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about Ada?
Yeah. So I guess Yang has been going off to a coffee shop, because you don't really think about, like, oh, maybe he's always in the house. Apparently, he's not always in the house.
Yang's catching a matinee, catching the Phillies game, laying a bet,
Yeah, I guess he does things on his own. So he was going to a coffee shop where he met a barista, and her name is Ada, who we come to find out later is a clone, which they really don't explain that either.
Yeah, his next door neighbor has a clone daughter.
Yeah.
And so, there's this, sort of aversion that Colin Farrell has about it, that the kid picks up on and, like, is fully aware of, and, like, sticks him right in the eye with it,
Yeah, but they don't explain this world of, like, techno sapiens, clones, like, who.
It's so great.
I loved it. But yeah, so he makes an attachment with Ada. She's a barista, and they end up spending time together. They go to a concert together.
They go to like an emo rock concert, and like we see this through these. What's so great about it is that we're seeing this through these 15-second clips, because that's, like I said, it's almost like YouTube shorts. He can only do these very sort of small retaining scenes, but there's just this, like, it would be out of, like, a really high quality romance film where it's just a scene of him watching her.
Yeah.
She's like, what are you doing? And at first, and then they play it a couple of times, or he's watching her on the balcony at the rock concert, or, in the window at the outside the coffee shop, these sorts of things that, don't have any sense of menace, or anything like that. You understand instantly that this comes from a genuine place.
Yeah, it's sweet.
Yeah. You get into the Mika character, the child, who's and one other thing I wanted to get into too, also, like, one of the things that I noticed in this movie is that they don't, the husband and wife, what are their names again?
Jack and Kira.
Jake and Kira. Jake and Kira don't make any decisions together. Like he decides everything that they're going to do about Yang.
Right.
But then he doesn't really even tell her what he decided.
He's just like, I'm handling it.
Yeah, I'm handling it. And you would think with something of that magnitude, he doesn't tell her about the memories, or that he's been scanning the memories, in the house, while she's sleeping, and so I mean, there's that level of distance between the two of them with no sort of malice, but that sort of distance between them. And in the middle of that is this little kid, Mika, who, for all intents and purposes, has lost her brother.
Yeah.
Her brother, sort of, guardian. And she just gets, she doesn't get much either from either of them. I had an opinion when I first started this channel about what child actors were capable of. But that's evolved. That idea has evolved in the 2 years since I've started doing this and started watching movies like this. She was great. The little kid who played Mika.
Yeah.
What was her name? Malia Emma, and I can't even begin to pronounce her last name. Malia Emma Tranja de Ouija. Yeah, I can't do that. So, well, I just did, but that's how it turned out. So good. So good. Go ahead. Am I missing something? I mean,
I think they kind of hinted at, so when you were saying that he makes all the decisions about Yang, but Kira makes all the decisions about Mika. Like, she's like, you pick her up from school. You've got to do this for her. Because she's not there because she's working.
Yeah, I've got to work.
Yeah. Or and she says to him, the one scene, you've got to do this and this and this. And then she goes, can you handle that?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's an interesting little insight. Like, I don't know what's going on before, but maybe he's fallen down on the job before.
Oh, he's just not around.
Yeah.
Or he'll forget or, something like that. On the other hand, she does overnighters.
Yeah.
She's like, we're working all night tonight at the office. And you get the impression that my impression of it was that she's not really doing some overnighter. She just wants to get away from her husband. And I think that, this is, some sort of way of, I don't know, expressing how frustrated she is.
I kind of thought
sleeping on the couch or something,
I felt like she was actually working.
Okay.
Because I think maybe that's just because of the kind of film it is. I didn't get the hint that it was like, it seems to be what it is what it is.
What it is.
Yeah.
Okay. I got some more inference out of it. I got a little more, and there were a couple of things that had some more inference out of it. Where during a couple of dialogues, and I think I put them in the notes, we'll get to it in a little bit, where I thought, because they had a lot of scenes where the scene was repeated 2 or 3 times, like the short little clips during the exchanges between Yang and Kira, or Yang and Colin Farrell, and it would go 2 or 3 times, and I'm thinking, is Yang sort of processing some sort of answer for them? Is that really Yang? I guess it's the death of Yang that sort of forces them to become a family again, which ultimately is that what impression you got, that they're going to, do you feel it ended on an optimistic note?
I think not just the death of Yang, but going through the process of grieving for Yang.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing that pulled them together.
And it's very bizarre how that happened, because I wrote that in my notes. I said they're all mourning separately.
Yeah.
And yet somehow, the power of Yang, is just what ends up pulling them back together again. Because maybe they can see it without having to put up defense if they can see it independently, then maybe they can see it without having to put up defense mechanisms.
Yeah. And then the wife does get to see the memories. Like, she eventually does put on the glasses and get to see what Yang had recorded and thought was important.
Because she had conversations with Yang.
Yeah.
About the butterflies.
Yeah.
What is the death of the butterfly, of the caterpillar, in the end to the rest of the world becomes a butterfly. Mm-hmm. So I equated like Yang as being the caterpillar, and so this life that, they're going to have together after he passes, becomes the butterfly. I hope I said that correctly. Um, but I mean, for me, I mean, and this movie is done in what, 90 minutes?
Yeah, it's hour and a half.
There's no wasted anything here. I didn't find anything to be unnecessary.
Right.
And just when you think the movie is kind of resolving itself, they start to access the other memory drives.
Yeah, and we find out that Yang, well, he was refurbished, so he had a family before.
Yeah, yeah, and that it was. I mean, that Yang was much older. He was decades old,
Yeah.
and had lived with this one woman through the entirety of her life as her son was a baby, and because it was another adoption situation. So he helped this one boy learn about his Chinese heritage, and the boy seemed a little despondent.
Yeah.
He seemed
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
he seemed like an unhappy
Teenager.
boy. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, who goes away to college, and the mother's crying because she's in the house by herself. It didn't seem like there was a father in the situation, and that it goes all the way to the point where the boy becomes a man and his mother passes. And even again, once again, briefly stumbling into a romantic interaction with a girl who was killed by a drunk driver.
Yeah. Ada.
It was her great aunt, wasn't it? Was
Yeah,
it?
she's the clone of that
Of the
woman.
girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just, I mean, like he had this vast life that they had just never considered, and just this, boundless sort of resource, these boundless experiences, and just, they didn't pay him attention at all, really.
But that goes back to like what was Yang, so Yang is supposedly refurbished, but he has these memories that he's hidden away
Yeah.
that they didn't either know about or delete or reset. So how long has Yang been able to, or how far evolved really is Yang, I guess is the question.
Whew, that's a really good question. I mean, yeah, I don't know the answer, but a lot more than they
Than they would ever
had
know.
considered. Yeah, than they would ever know. And for me, accessing his memories were some of the best parts of the film.
I agree. And I also think, thinking about it now, I think that Yang maybe was playing kind of like wearing a mask, you know, at
Very
the
much so.
in the house.
Very much so.
At
He played the role he was supposed to play.
Right, but there was something more to him that he was able to get out when he left the house. Obviously, when we see when he makes that connection with Ada.
Yeah. Yeah. Fantastic film. Fantastic film. Yeah, another family. He experienced love, and death and all these sorts of things. And then as the movie draws to a close, Kira and Colin Farrell finally make that. And this is what I thought ended the movie on an optimistic note. They finally make a decision together.
Yeah.
And he tells her, I don't want Yang to be displayed in Sarita Chowdhury's museum, although, done respectfully.
Right.
He deserved more than that just to be on display like some sort of,
Yeah.
techno model or something like that. But they thought that clips of his memories that they deemed appropriate, and not too private, were worth sharing.
Well, and he also says, Yang mattered.
Yeah.
Not just to us, but to other people.
Yeah. Yeah. And they didn't even know. And again, all these things that go past you as you live in your, sort of self-absorption. It's it's a hell of a film. It's a hell of a film. Science fiction of the highest order. And again, starting out where I, started talking about in the beginning, where, the best sorts of horror and science fiction are the ones that are rooted in very human problems. And so, Obviously, it's something that you said you related to, something that I clearly relate to, and so that's what grabs you, and the ability to, or the willingness to be a bit introspective, you know, um, yeah, not not just a Transformers movie, or
Yeah.
something like that,
I
So,
think I think there needs to be a way that all of these kinds of films can coexist.
well, they do. It's just that they don't get equal. Go ahead. I'm sorry, I cut you off. I
No, no,
apologize.
I know what you're gonna yeah, but I mean coexist, but also sort of I didn't even know about this movie until I think I saw something on YouTube talking about Colin Farrell was gonna be in After Gang. It was like a I don't know, Hollywood Reporter thing. And I was like, "Oh, that looks interesting."
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, and that was the end of it till it popped up on my Hulu thing
Okay.
saying like, "Oh, you might like."
Yeah.
So thank God the algorithm on Hulu knows me so well.
Well, I mean, I always make sure I hit the like and dislike.
Yeah.
So I help it along as best I can to get good stuff. Um, Patrick said, hold on a second. Says it lost millions.
Yeah.
So I don't think that many people have the attention span anymore.
I agree, and I wanna tell you, I looked up the review like, just like what Google reviews were. So, they were
Right.
like it was either 5 stars or 1 star. There
Yeah.
was no in the middle. It was either, "This is a beautiful movie," or, "This is the most boring film. This is the most
Yeah.
thoughtful, introspective."
Yeah.
I couldn't sit through the first 30 minutes of this movie.
Yeah. People don't have the attention spans anymore. They need that dopamine hit from the CGI.
Yeah.
That has its place. I mean, I went to see Black Adam. Don't misunderstand me. I went to go see it, but I'm 54 years old. Give me a story.
Yeah.
That's what I constantly say. Give me a story. But it's funny because I saw this today, and it's a quote from Cormac McCarthy. You know who that is?
Yeah.
The author. And this was something I had posted from a few years ago, and it posted up on my memories page, and I put it on my Twitter account. And he says, the indulgent 800-page books that were written 100 years ago are just not going to be written anymore, and people need to get used to that. If you think you're going to write something like The Brothers Karamazov or Moby Dick, go ahead. Nobody will read it. I don't care how good it is or how smart the readers are. Their intentions, their brains are different. And he said that back in 2009 to the Wall Street Journal. And so, I haven't seen anything in 13 years since. And he just released 2 books.
Mhm.
He just released a 2-part saga. But yeah, I mean, it's becoming more and more of a niche kind of thing. I'm encouraged by the fact that people are still making these sorts of things. And Patrick put something up here. He goes, I never even heard of this. And you know how overhyped every A24 release is these days. I have to say, in complete honesty, I disagree with that completely. I never hear about anything A24 is doing unless I see it on A24's Instagram account. Trailers I see are usually the Marvel or the franchises. Not being snarky, but it sounds like A24 didn't know how to market this movie. Again, I think it's just the situation that we're in now with cinema. I think we're living through a very dumb time. These sorts of movies are being made, but nobody knows about them. And so, you really have to keep your ear to the ground. I'm glad that I have this channel and, to be able to talk to you and to Patrick and to other people about them. But yeah, it's a small crowd.
Yeah, well, even I really enjoyed that film Last Night in Soho that came out at the end of last year, and
Oh, yeah.
I thought that movie was I just really enjoyed it. I thought it was something different. I thought they were trying something new, which never happens, and I just felt like same thing. It kind of came and went under the radar.
Hold on 1 second. Oh, okay. I heard something. I thought my phone was.
Oh, no, that's mine. I just turned mine just started
Okay.
buzzing.
Okay. No. Go ahead. Last night in Soho. Say
Yeah.
it again. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Edgar Wright's Last Night in Soho, and it kind of just came and went, and I didn't. No one really. I mean, of course, YouTube talks about because you can go in to find whatever thing you're interested
Right.
on YouTube,
Yeah.
but in the general conversation, the
Yeah.
general public, no one
Yeah.
knew about that movie. It came and went,
Yeah.
and that that's too bad because it's a very interesting and different and exciting movie, and it was fun and thrilling, and just sort of went by the wayside.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about probably what's one of the best sci-fi movies since Blade Runner 2049.
I mean,
You
I
know,
can agree with that. But
yeah,
also, look, how did Blade Runner 2049? That bomb
right,
too.
right, and but my timeline is full of Cocaine Bear and
Yeah, yeah.
and Violent Night, and I'm like, we are living in the stupidest time ever. And I genuinely, it's so volatile and unstable. I hope we get through this. But I mean, people like Kogonada, are making serious film. I have another perfect film that I saw, but I'm going to keep my powder dry on it on the stream. As soon as we get out, I'll show it to you because I want to highly recommend it to you, and you should definitely check it out. It's again the second perfect film I saw this year, and I think it's also been recommended by. It's been sent in to the Academy for consideration, and it's a horror film, and it's perfect. But yeah, I mean, we cinema buffs, so we got to stick together because otherwise it's slim pickings out there.
Yeah, you have to do your work to find, you have to dig in.
Yeah, and that's what this channel is just going to continue to do. I'm just going to keep trying to within these limited genres, the best stuff. You have your genres. You're working on noir and some things that are older, but letting people know that there are quality. You can always expand your back catalog.
Yeah.
You can always expand your back catalog. Get your physical media.
Yeah,
Uh,
I used to not do that, but
uh,
this year, I mean, like I've been buying DVDs and Blu-rays kind of whenever. Like when we get off of here, I'm buying After Yang.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not too proud to give a used book or movie
Oh
a
yeah,
home. Yeah,
definitely.
absolutely. I think you were talking about recommendations, weren't you, or something? What are you working on right now? The link to your channel is in the description right here. So please follow Sydney's channel, Cinema Cities, because she's got really good content, and her channel is growing. And it's important conversations. They're mature conversations. Something that doesn't happen too often or often enough on YouTube. But what are you working on right now?
I should have my next video up tomorrow. It's not so happy holiday films. Five not so happy holiday films, because I like to, on my channel we're very much into the moody and melancholy.
Yes, just a tad, just a tad.
So yeah, holiday movies that, sad, make you upset, melancholy, and maybe even have a couple murders in them.
You know something? It's a movie that I've seen, and I don't think I could cover it here because it sort of falls outside of what I do. But people have been, and I was telling someone when I used to teach that I took an 8th grade class through this movie or reading about this movie, and it sounded so intriguing that I ended up buying a copy, and now I have it, and I haven't watched it. Alfred Hitchcock's Rope.
Oh yeah, I've seen Rope.
I heard like my favorite Hitchcock film is Notorious.
I mean, I love Notorious. I
Yeah,
do.
Cary Grant, right?
Yeah, Ingrid Bergman, man.
Yeah, that's my
God,
favorite one. Where yeah.
that's a
But
great one.
I've heard fantastic things about Rope. I don't know if you'd ever consider like a small
I don't really
Hitchcock visit.
okay, so Rope is just like the one setting, it's in the room,
Right,
one room. But
right.
but Hitchcock, I'm gonna actually be doing a video about this movie in January. Hitchcock has another one setting film that doesn't get any love, and it's called Lifeboat. And it all takes
Oh, I
place.
don't have that one. I don't have
It
that
takes place in a lifeboat, and the survivors have just been torpedoed by a German sub,
one. Okay.
and they end up picking up someone out of the water, and it
Ah,
ends up being a German.
ah.
And
Now
they're
I got
all
to
on
get
the
on
lifeboat.
Amazon. I got
Yeah,
to buy a
and
copy.
so like your favorite one's Notorious. I think I rewatched it recently because I bought it finally because I didn't own
Okay.
it.
Okay.
And I think Lifeboat, it's up there as one of my top Hitchcocks. I really love it, and it needs more love. And I'm going to do a
Okay.
video on Lifeboat in
Okay,
January.
so I guess you're off to buy After Yang, and I'm off to
You're
buy
off to-
Lifeboats, because it's never going to stop. You can never, it's like an obsession. You got it because also, I mean, on a bit of a somewhat serious note, digital libraries are fickle.
Yeah.
Digital libraries are fickle, and this is kind of a crazy time, and you never know what's going to get wiped off the slate. But hey, if I've got it here or in the other room, then that works for me.
Yeah.
Is there anything that we did not discuss that you would like to get into about this movie?
No, just that I think everyone should give it a try. It might not be everyone's
Yeah,
cup of tea, but if you find out that it is your cup of tea, you'll be very happy that you watched it.
you have to watch this movie. This isn't a movie about special effects. They're not giant robots punching each other and world intrigue, and it's almost a drama set inside a sci-fi movie.
Yeah, yeah. I was calling it a sci-fi family drama.
Yeah, yeah. But it requires maturity.
Mm.
This isn't Black Adam. I love Top Gun Maverick. I saw it. I own it on Blu-ray. I thought it was a really good movie. I enjoyed the hell out of it. It's not that. This is cinema. It's a mature movie and requires you to sit down and actually watch it. You can't, be looking at your phone or whatever, because you'll miss a lot. Miss a lot. Okay. I guess this is as good a place as any to bring to a close. Would you say?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, wait. I want us to cover something a little different. You have Netflix, right?
Yes.
I want us to be able to cover a movie with Noomi Rapace called Black Crab. And it's from this year. It's from this year. It broke out. It's about war, and it's about it came out right at the same time as the Ukraine war broke out, and it is really, really good. So let's see if we can hammer out a schedule, and I'd be willing to do another one of these afternoons, because I'm just interested now in just covering the movies. I realize it's going to be a small audience. That's fine. But these are the movies I want to talk about. So whenever I get a chance to do it, that'll be it. I think that's it for us here. My channel. I will be here tonight at 8:00 for something a little more fun. We're going to spin the wheel of horror, which means I'm going to. You've seen Jaws, right?
Yes.
Of course. Okay. Did you ever see that scene where Richard Dreyfuss is sticking his hands inside the shark, the dead shark, and he's pulling out but he's not looking? Well, I'm going to get into my collection here, and I'm going to dispassionately, without looking, select like 3 to 6 movies. And then I'm going to have a panel on here. Patrick's going to be here. I got to talk to Mr. Dan. I got to get him on the show one time. He always stops in the chat. I got to get him on. And Eric's going to be here, and Julia over in the UK is going to be here, and the Gora folk. You'd be welcome to join us. If you'd like to.
My house is too noisy.
Well, we're just going to randomly, select movies and just talk about them and see where the conversation goes.
Cool. I'll try to drop in on the live stream tonight.
Yeah, feel free. 8 p.m. We'll be here. Okay. My thanks to Sydney. Don't go anywhere, because I want to talk to you after the chat. My thanks to Sydney from Cinema Cities, and the link to her YouTube channel is on there. Please follow her channel. It's a great channel, and she's got really intelligent stuff, which is important nowadays. We'll be here again tomorrow night. Thanks again to Mr. Dan and to Patrick. Patrick, I'll see you tonight. And I guess that's it. So have a good one, everybody. See you in a few hours. Bye-bye.